Hey guys, what is up and welcome back to the Loosely Bound YouTube channel. My name is Kate and today we're going to talk about Home Before Dark by Riley Sager. Riley Sager is easily one of my favorite authors now. This is the fourth Riley Sager book that I've read so far. I've absolutely loved the other ones that are out already, and he actually has a new one called Survive the Night that's coming out in a few months that I am super excited for, because I really just can't get enough of Riley Sager's novels. Just everything I've read from him has been so incredible and just left me like mind blown after I finished it, and Home Before Dark was no exception. It was such a good read. I knocked it out in just a few days because I seriously couldn't put it down. So today we're going to talk about kind of what it was about, what I liked about it, and what I didn't like so much. But this video is going to be totally spoiler free, so if you have not read Home Before Dark yet, don't worry, I'm not going to ruin it for you. And also, if you want to read Home Before Dark, check out the link in the description box down below. I'll go ahead and post the direct link to this book there so you can easily find and order a copy for yourself. So Home Before Dark really made me think of quite a few different things that I really like. The first thing that it kept reminding me of was anything written by Darcy Coates. So Darcy Coates is another one of my favorite authors right now. She just writes these great horror stories, and the typical setting of most of Darcy Coates' novels is someone has just been left with this old abandoned house, whether it was willed to them or they're taking care of it or whatever, and something happens that keeps them there. They can't leave the house or just give up on it, and all of the spooky stuff starts happening. That's pretty much exactly what happens in Home Before Dark. Our main character in Home Before Dark is a 20-ish something woman named Maggie Holt, who owns a renovation and house flipping company. So basically she buys these old houses, she renovates and repairs them, and then she flips them or resells them for a profit. But what sets Maggie apart from other average women her age was that when she was a child, she and her family lived for about 20 days in a haunted house known as Baneberry Hall. Her parents bought this house when she was about 5 years old. They proceeded to move in, and within the first few weeks of living there, something so terrifying happened that her family had to run out in the middle of the night, leaving all of their belongings there and never returning to Baneberry Hall again. So not only is that a traumatic experience on its own, but Maggie's father also wrote a true retelling of their experience while they were living in Baneberry Hall, and that book became a worldwide bestseller. So Maggie grew up with that story kind of looming over her head. She was kind of ostracized in school because she was the weird girl that came from the haunted house. She always had media journalists and reporters harping over her and her family, trying to figure out what happened and get their insider view on their experience in Baneberry Hall. But on top of all of that, the main kicker for Maggie is none of her father's story is true. So Maggie remembers none of the events that her father claimed to have happened. Even though she was younger, she was still at an age where you would think if all of these crazy paranormal traumatic things happened, you would think that she would remember some of them. And Maggie doesn't remember any of them. So while she was growing up, she had to deal with trying to understand why her father would lie about these events and why he would keep it up for so long. So at the start of our novel, Maggie's father has recently passed away, and she goes to speak to his attorney to get all of his affairs in order, and she is shocked to learn that her father never actually sold Baneberry Hall. And because he just passed away, Maggie has inherited Baneberry Hall. Now Maggie totally hates this place because she feels like it's the place that ruined their family. If they hadn't ever moved there, her father would have never written this book and her life would have been totally different. But like it or not, she is now the proud owner of Baneberry Hall, and she has to decide what to do with it. Because she owns a renovation business, Maggie decides that her best option is to go in and renovate Baneberry Hall and then sell it and just get it off of her hands forever. So Maggie moves into Baneberry Hall with the plans to start repairing it and renovating it. But while she's there, she also wants to uncover what the heck really happened and figure out why her father spent 20 years lying to her. But of course, once she's there, all of these weird things start happening. The puzzle pieces start falling into place about what really went down at Baneberry Hall, and Maggie finally understands why her father wrote the story, why he lied to her forever, why they left in the middle of the night, and everything just falls together in an amazing Riley Sager way. What I mean by that is you will think you know what happened, and then he's gonna twist it and shake it up 47 times, so by the end, your brain will literally be spinning, but you'll have so much good closure, and you're just gonna feel like, yes, that was a really freaking good book. So without giving anything away, I'm gonna share a few things that I really liked about reading Home Before Dark. The first thing that I absolutely thought was amazing is the way that it's written. One chapter will be from Maggie's present day perspective, and the next chapter will be from the book that her father actually wrote about their time in Baneberry Hall. So it's going back and forth from Maggie's perspective to her dad's perspective, and present day to past. And it was a little teensy bit confusing at first for me to make sure that I was reading in the right perspective. But as the book goes on and Maggie's present day experiences start lining up and syncing up so perfectly with her father's experiences in the past, it just makes it so creepy, and it just adds an extra element to figuring out these clues and understanding all of these different pieces to the puzzle. And I just thought that was a really clever way of telling us exactly what happened when Maggie lived there as a child and weaving in her experience being back there as an adult. The second thing was the whole vibe and aesthetic of Home Before Dark. Like I said, it definitely reminded me of Darcy Coates novels, and I absolutely love her books. So I was just happy with that haunted house setting to begin with. But aside from that, I also got kind of the Shining vibes from Stephen King, and it met a little bit of The Haunting of Hill House, which is a really popular book that I haven't read, but I have seen the Netflix series, and it just gave me all of these cool, creepy haunted house vibes, and I loved it. It was just really cool to immerse yourself into, and I felt like just the whole vibe came together so well. And of course, I loved all of Riley Sager's trademark twists and turns. I thought I had this book figured out 4 times, and I didn't. I didn't see the end coming at all. It was quite wild. And that's just one of the reasons that Riley Sager has quickly jumped to the top of my favorite authors list, because there's so many times that I read a thriller that the ending is kind of obvious, but Riley Sager makes you think that you figured out the obvious ending and then throws in 87 more turns, and it's not even anywhere close to what you thought was gonna happen. One of the things that I didn't love so much about Home Before Dark was I felt like the characters weren't as gripping as other Riley Sager books that I've read before. A few of the characters I feel like just barely kind of scratched the surface, so we get a little inside view about why they work the way they do, but it didn't feel very deep. I think the only character that we really got a lot of depth from was Maggie, and Maggie to me was almost a little annoying at the end, so that was kind of a downside in Home Before Dark, whereas in other Riley Sager books I've loved all of the characters and just genuinely cared for them. In Home Before Dark I didn't quite get that same care and just that depth to it, so I felt like the characters were a little bit lacking. Not super bad, but just not quite a home run for me on the character side. Other than that, I thought Home Before Dark was amazing. The character development is really the only downside that I can say, but everything else was so great, and I absolutely think you should check this book out. I gave it 4 stars on Goodreads, and I also have a written review posted there, so if you would like to check that out, I'll post my Goodreads link down below. Thank you guys so much for hanging out and watching this video today. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and let me know in the comments if you have read Home Before Dark, and if you haven't, let me know if you're planning on picking it up now that we've talked about it a little. Thank you again so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye!